If you haven't done it already, check out the first link in this video. It's the first footage we have of the Sony FS-700. Now, what's amazing about this camera isn't the 4K ability. The 4K ability, when it comes later, is probably going to cost quite a bit of money for an external recorder. It's nice that it's there, but it's not something I'm worried about right away. The really nice thing this camera does that nothing else does outside of a Red Epic is give high quality, high speed frame rates. Well, Red Epic, or you have a Phantom like the new Phantom Miro, and we're talking about full 1080p, full sensor up to, I believe, well, at least 240 frames per second. Above that, it might do 300 frames per second, but they're going to be the modes up to 960 frames per second. Somewhere in there, they're going to either have line skipping or cropping. But still, to have a camera with those really high-speed modes for only, they say that the US price is probably going to be around $8,700. There really isn't anything that can compete with that. What this makes the camera, even compared to everything else, and if you watch the video, you'll notice if it's really shot on an FS-700, which it is, according, you can read a lot of the people that worked on the video talk over at DVX User. You can definitely see a big change in the way that highlights are handled, which was kind of a complaint of the FS-100, even with its different profiles that could be loaded onto the camera. You can see that's changed a lot. The image looks great, but the reason why I would get that camera, even with having a Scarlett, would be for those high speed frame rates that you could only get on something like an Epic or Phantom. Now, you can use a little external recorder. The really smart thing that this camera does is it records this high-speed footage into a buffer, and then it plays it back in real time. And so what that gives you is the ability to record externally uncompressed. Because if you record in the camera, it's going to be at a terrible 28 megabits a second bit rate. So if you record externally, as long as there's no in-camera compression added, you're going to be able to record uncompressed 1080p slow motion out at 240 or 300 frames per second and above, uncompressed, depending on the quality. Now, I'd like to see those clips raw, but assuming it's the quality of the other video coming from the camera, it would be absolutely amazing. And sure, it's a lower resolution than, say, a Red Scarlett. You can't get those frame rates unless you use Twixtor with a Red Scarlett. And intercutting those two, it would be amazing. It would be much better to shoot at a lower frame rate. Well, the Scarlett is supposed to do 1K or around 720p at 120 frames per second. And this is doing basically near 2K at a 1.5 crop, where the Scarlett crops down much smaller at the high frame rates. So I'm really excited about this camera. I'm really excited about shooting with the FS-700 and the Scarlett at the same time. And actually, I think that, you know, you can tell I'm a GH2 fan. I would use the GH2 for handheld, recording around, taking with me on the go. And for serious projects, you've got the Scarlett for regular frame rates up to 48 frames per second and the HDR. But the FS-700 fits in that nice little bracket of super slow motion, which is something that I think everyone loves. Well, at least I love. I love that super slow motion capture and playback and seeing things that you don't normally see. So there's just a million different things that you could do with a super slow motion camera, and there hasn't really ever been one in this price range at this quality. So I think it's going to be, as long as there's no weird problems or strange issues with the camera, it's going to be a huge hit. And again, it does do 4K at some point in the future. It's going to be a firmware upgrade to an external recorder. I don't think that's the exciting thing about the camera. The exciting thing about the camera is the actual output of super slow motion. So Sony, if you're out there listening, I would like to play with your new camera. If not, I'll just have to buy one and play with it then.